everybody. Welcome to another episode of Maps Are Dead with Mike D. Today's conversation, all about how to navigate a world that's run off the maps and how you develop an internal compass, is with my very good friend, Serena Tillman. Serena and I talk about how she navigates through her upbringing, through her training as a social worker and other things, as well as shifting home to being kind of the manager of their family. But what happens when life comes at you in ways you hadn't expected, like delivering your baby way early? How does that work? Two things stand out. Serena's going to talk about the relationship between fear and action. We have to understand that fear doesn't go away and then we take action. We need to understand that action and fear are simultaneous. How do you navigate that tension? And the second thing she's going to talk about, I love this, is that when an emergency comes, you don't get to build your village of support in an emergency. The support you need, that village around you, it's built on a random Tuesday. It's built years in advance before the moment when you discover, I'm going to deliver a baby 6 weeks early. What do I do? They show up. You've poured into these people, and in those moments, they pour into you. It's a really powerful conversation, and hopefully will encourage you to know wherever you are today, whatever you're navigating, if you're afraid or you're reaching for people, you can get through this. You're going to want to stick around. Serena is a great conversation and brings so much life and heart to this. Hope you enjoy it. If this is your first time, it means a lot to us if you would like, follow, share, subscribe. It really helps us reach more people today. Enjoy this conversation with Serena. We'll see you next time. So we have conversations that are unscripted. We bring in Clifton Strengths as a tool to help us understand ways you can develop your own internal compass to navigate when the map doesn't work, so you can have an internal sense of direction that goes with you always. This is season 2, and man, I am incredibly excited to have my guest today, Serena Tillman. Okay, before I let her talk, though, I got to tell you, like, we just figured out 28 years this month.
That's
I think
a
we know each other,
very long
Serena.
time.
28 years. So I am very blessed to have really fascinating and powerful people in my life, and Serena is one of them. But so I was like, you know, I've known her. I can introduce her myself. But then I had Gemini. I was like, okay, Gemini, what exactly, if you were going to introduce her on a podcast, and I'm going to give you some of her stats. So today's guest is a licensed master social worker, a certified personal trainer. She teaches Pilates. She was a Nike athlete at one point, Serena.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Still am. Mm-hmm.
Still are. Based out of Montclair, New Jersey. She has made it her mission to help women navigate the gray areas of life, from career pivots to motherhood, sobriety, mental health. You lead a women's group at your church. It used to be called the Wise Group. What's it called now?
Esther's Daughters.
Esther's Daughters. She's an instructor. She's worked for nonprofits, has 3 amazing children, a husband named Joseph, who I love very much. And you and I have biked the coast of California together 3 times, 4 times?
Yeah, I did it twice. I think you did it a few more times.
I did 3 times.
Okay.
For her graduation, I told her she could take any trip she want. She and her sister and I camped and did the whitewater rafted the Grand Canyon together for 7 days.
That's amazing.
It's crazy. She's a peanut butter enthusiast and a brilliant woman. And so, Serena, thank you so much for having this conversation with me today.
Yes, thanks for having me.
So I had Serena. We're bummed because I can't find years ago when you were in high school, Serena. I made you take Clifton Strengths way back in the day. You're like this crazy test thing I was doing. I cannot find the original results, so had you take it again. And so for those of you following along at home, if you can see this, I've got them on the board behind me: discipline, harmony, empathy, maximizer, and consistency. In my serial killer scrawl here on the board. So we're going to weave these in because we haven't really unpacked Clifton Strengths, but that's not really the whole point of this conversation. Serena, I thought of having you on this call because I have watched you your whole life, obviously, but especially post-college, post-university, navigate your life, whether it be in marriage, you and Joseph falling in love, and I think your wedding was in the New York Times, right? The vow. So fancy.
Front page.
I was just watching, because like, how many years? You just celebrated how many years of marriage?
10.
10. That's right.
Yeah.
Right, 10 years. You had the chapel at Rutgers, wasn't it? I had good photos of my memories the other day.
Yeah.
From marriage to you did the work, licensed social worker, Columbia University, right? That's a lot of investment in time. And I thought that man, an effort, and there's pressure on what that means. You went to work in nonprofits. Began having a family, and then even pivoting into health. But it wasn't like you're just like, oh, I'm doing one thing. You continue to do about 5 things at any given time, along with being what you call the COO of the Tillman house. For me, I wanted to have this conversation because I wanted to go, what does it take to navigate that when everybody, I'm sure, has an opinion about it?
Oh, so many opinions on every aspect. I feel
Yeah.
like from the beginning in middle school, high school, for a long time, I would call myself a people pleaser.
Mm.
I don't want to label myself a people pleaser, so I'll just
Yeah.
say I struggled with people pleasing.
Yeah.
And it really came to head when I had my daughter, Charlie, and you don't even realize how many different opinions there are when it comes to motherhood.
Hmm.
How long are you going to wait to have kids? What kind of birth are you going to have? What
Yep.
kind of milk or formula, breastfed, not, so there's so many different opinions out there. And so it's still something that I have to navigate.
Sure.
And that's just motherhood. That's just within the
Yeah.
context of motherhood. Um, but yeah, I mean, everybody is going to have something to say.
Yeah. A lot of people. Do you, in the midst, when you think about, because there's major transitions occurring all the time
Yeah.
in our life and in your story, from the degree you choose to agreeing to get married, to deciding to come home from work for a while, to go back to work. Um, when you think back between post university to now, which has been more than a decade for you, does anything stand out as the first time you realized, oh wait, no one else can tell me what to do? Like, man,
Mm.
I actually have to choose this. There is no one else, and there's no right answer. There's only what I choose.
Mm-hmm. So there was a moment right after I graduated from Columbia where I wanted to get a job right away. And I remember my dad telling me, you can, chill for the summer
Yeah.
and then you work, but like you've been in school back to back to back. Why don't you take
Yeah.
a bit of a break and then go into it? And I was like, no, I want to work right away.
Mm.
So I applied for a role and I got a role as a youth justice social worker.
Okay.
Exactly what I wanted to do, working in the Bronx criminal court. I was really excited. Now, I embellished my resume a little bit.
You know,
so as
you wash your face before you go out in public, so to speak.
so as you know, my mom is Puerto Rican.
Yep.
And my grandmother only speaks Spanish. I understand a good amount of Spanish. On my resume, I said I was conversational fluency in Spanish.
Okay.
Not true. But it
It's
got
not
me the
real.
job. Never it got me the job. I was so excited. And of course, they assigned me with clients who in the Bronx only spoke Spanish.
Always speak Spanish.
And it was not going well. It was not good. And I remember having a conversation with Joseph about I am not enjoying this job. This is stressful and I'm
Yep.
just not equipped. This is not what I want to be doing. I want to do more maybe programmatic work as opposed to the one-on-one counseling. So it was also an
Yep.
identity career shift that I was already wanting to make a few months post graduation.
Yeah.
And I remember Joseph saying, "Okay, so quit." And I was like, no, I just got this job. I cannot leave. What is my resume going to say? What is LinkedIn going to say? What are people going to say? Those who have
Hmm.
graduated with me and already, in their career and doing all the
Yeah.
things, or maybe they went on to get a PhD or, further their education more. And he was like, you're not happy. So quit. And we will work towards what the next role is.
Yep.
And it just felt like such a foreign thing to change my mind
Yeah.
and to just pivot in that way. And I quit and I left the role and
Yeah.
I was maybe out of a job for a few months. And then I made the transition into a role that I ended up staying at until I ended up staying home with
Yeah.
the kids. So I was there for another 5, 6 years. And
Yep.
so just that shift of you need to just make the decision that is best for you and your
Yeah.
well-being right now. And also for the good of the clients. You can barely
Yeah.
speak Spanish. And so this is not a role. It's not a fit. It's not a fit.
Embrace the radical authenticity stuff you like to talk about a lot. Like, start there.
Yes.
Because what I love about what you're saying is that I really feel like people I interact with and people my coaches interact with are facing two of those things. One, which is what I hear is like, yeah, the people pleasing of like, actually, the first one I would say is judgment.
Mm,
Judging yourself in comparison to what will LinkedIn say, or I should be further along. And this idea of there's always some bar that is further along. So having to go hearing that. But the other thing too, I think about a lot is, and especially I don't know if it's your generation as much as mine, but the idea of, well, my parents or myself, I just spent all this money on this degree to work in this thing. And so, wait a minute. And then people say, well, I've invested so much.
yeah,
This track must lead here. How
yeah.
do I get off that road? And the thing for me is when Joseph says that to you and you start that process, none of those voices went away.
No,
Like,
no, no.
it's not like, I think people are waiting for, oh, I will stop feeling like I'm going to judge myself, or I will stop feeling that. And then suddenly I can go, yes, now I know I can choose my own way. You're
Mhm,
having to choose that without any of that struggle stopping.
mhm,
And in
mhm.
that moment, you're just having to pick. Is that real for you? It wasn't like,
No.
oh, when Joseph said that, I finally suddenly realized I could be judgment free and make a decision for myself. I mean, you make that call. Is it what's the process like to go, and I still have to live in that call every day? This is still a
Mhm.
good idea. Because it wasn't one decision. It's a
Yeah.
decision then that multiple times, I'm sure people were like, are you sure you want to do this? Well, you should
Mhm,
apply for another role in the department.
mhm,
Non-Spanish speaking.
mhm.
How was that process of you letting that voice of I can choose what is best for me to
Mhm.
settle in?
You just always have to be aware. I mean, think of the 2 voices. There you have the knob of the
Yeah,
volume, and so
right.
you have to intentionally turn down the volume of the voice that's saying, the judgment, the people pleasing, the
Yeah,
what will they say, you're in this much debt, and here you are without a job this close after, you
yeah,
know, post grad. So you have to always turn it down and then turn up the voice of encouragement and also reminding yourself of I've made countless decisions up to this point that I know has gotten me here. And so now I'm going to move forward with that voice in mind. And it's almost like there's a little minion that wants to turn up the voice of the discouragement and low self esteem and questioning yourself and without your control. And so you just, I think it's just being aware
yeah,
that that voice is trying to creep itself back in and you just have to turn it
yeah,
back down. I mean, even if it's multiple times a day, it's not going to be, or maybe it'll be silenced for weeks on end and then it'll come super loud. So I think it's just being aware that this is something that you struggle with or this is something that has happened in the past. And
yeah,
it's not necessarily going to completely go away just because you made a
yeah.
decision with confidence one time.
So interesting you say that because I think one of the things for me that I think about is, yeah, because I'm not a people pleaser, right? I struggle with a thing, right? I don't have it. Um, I understand. I've done a lot of research into codependency, which is a more technical version of people pleasing. And one of the things that I'm learning and talking to clients about is learning to not judge yourself, even when those voices, like you said, dealing with the noise of that, and not judge the voice. Going, oh gosh, there's something wrong with me for still hearing this. Or
Hmm.
if I was better, I wouldn't have these thoughts anymore. I would have heard, Joseph would like me to hear the voice. Let's call him the voice of God. I would have heard the voice of God through Joseph going, you can choose. And suddenly I'm better and I don't have to. But in that moment, to be able to go, yeah, the issue isn't that I hear these stories telling me what will people think. It's more my brain really does believe that there's wholeness to be found in making other people be happy or having an impressive story or
Yeah.
having something else and having to like undo that story of, well, wait, that's actually not true. Like having to, and not
Hmm.
judging ourselves for having these narratives in our head
Hmm.
and going, actually, my brain is trying to get something. Is
Hmm.
it really going to get what it thinks wants here? If I stop and think about it, no.
Yeah.
Pleasing that other person,
Yeah.
staying in this job won't be good for them or me. But instead, I get so focused on turning off the voice
Yeah.
instead of being able to be like, why do I want this voice?
Mhm, mhm,
What's the why in that?
mhm.
As you find that true, because you really have shifted your own story.
Yeah.
And I read your latest piece that you posted, and I get the sense of courage and honor in your story. You talked almost about it like a monastic approach, you know, and this focus of what, people can call it, it's fancy, COO of the Tillman house, but more so of like the choices that you're making now. But you don't do it like this idea of like, I'm a trad wife now. I have an Instagram account and I'm making my butter from hand
Oh,
and I'm right. And I just love my man. I can't wait to be home. My children are perfect. You're pretty authentic about it.
yeah.
Where you find yourself now because it can be the big shift. You come home, you begin to have children, where
Mhm.
you find yourself now. How do you navigate that road from first child to third child after 10 years of marriage?
I think the transition, first of all, with having Charlie, our first, and those voices were so loud, and those voices still exist even with Grayson coming and Andy coming. It's just they're much quieter
Mm,
because I have been able to see if I do make the decision that works best for our family, that brings the most peace to our household, our budget, our schedule,
yeah,
then that's going to work well. For me, for my mental health, I'm a better mom, I'm a better
yeah.
wife when I make these decisions. But those voices are still there.
Mhm.
Um, but I think that as I've become a mom of three, the confidence in how I do it, my daily, I mean, we were talking before you hit record
Yeah,
just a little bit about like, I love the order, I love
yeah,
the schedule, I love the
yeah.
agenda. And having my Excel sheets and my ChatGPT projects and all these things to
Sure.
kind of organize, you know, will help me and at least takes some of the noise out of my brain so
Right.
that I'm not just like thinking of the what ifs, what ifs, what ifs. It's like, okay, Serena, put it down on paper. This is what's working right now in this season for your family. And being mindful that maybe in 3 months, maybe in 6 months, we're going to have to make a shift. And
Mhm.
so I wouldn't say that it's gotten easier with
Right.
3 kids. I think it's
Sure.
gotten more manageable to listen to what works for me and my family.
Yeah.
One thing I love anytime that we travel or on an airplane, I love looking out the window and seeing all the homes, all the people as you pass miles and miles and miles and miles, and how many different people, different stories,
Mhm.
different, maybe some people are, single, no children, 5 children, they have an au pair, they have a nanny, they don't
Yeah.
have additional support, whatever it might be. There's so many different ways to navigate
Yeah.
motherhood and family life that there obviously is no right or wrong way, despite what social media or
Yeah.
culture or television might tell us is like the right way or the
Yeah.
most popular way. And so for me, it's about stepping into the decisions that we've decided to make with confidence. And not everybody needs an explanation as to why we do what we do. And
Yeah.
so that has been very difficult to not
Mm.
explain myself,
Yeah.
even to Evelyn, my sister, or even
Yeah.
to my mom when
Oh,
they ask certain questions and,
yeah.
have the best of intentions. I've told them explicitly, my therapist told me that I need to not always explain myself.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give you this answer,
Yep.
and that's the answer, and
I
so
love I love this sentence. Somebody said, was it Elizabeth Olsen said one time in an interview that her dad told her, "Remember, no is a complete sentence."
yes. And it's so uncomfortable for me because I hate the silence. So
Sure.
I'll say no and then be like, is that okay?
Well, and I think that's what's so interesting is that as somebody, and and I get to do this with you because you've been in my life. You've let me into your life for a very long
Yeah.
time.
Mhm.
Is that the evolution, even as a professional person, as an impacting? I say professional slash purpose because I
Yeah.
don't think it's not profession. It's
Yeah.
people focused on purpose.
Yeah.
In the course of your life in the last decade, is that first step of because one of the things you have to navigate is you become married to a person who's not you,
Mhm.
right? I remember talking to your dad at one point after the first Thanksgiving that Joseph came out to visit
Yes,
in San Jose,
2015.
and the comment about Joe, yes, I'm talking about you, Joe, was it's so strange. He had to go off to his bedroom by himself to just decompress. And they could not, and in your house, everybody spends every moment together all the time.
Every moment.
And so suddenly, in not a very big house, looking back in San Jose, he's out
Right.
for a holiday. I was like, Dwight, meet an introvert.
Mhm.
Welcome to someone who's a thinking person. He has analytical and deliberative in his Clifton strengths. I made him take this test before you
Yep.
guys got married or whatever, after you guys got married. But you guys are very different. And that's
Yes.
the first big moment where you start to speak from just me to we at times.
Yep.
And so how is that conversation? How do you feel like that has shifted you as a wife and a partner? How has that shifted how you're seeing? Obviously, he was in your story already, giving you the courage to say, hey, or offering up the new possibilities that you hadn't considered.
Yes.
How has that shifted? Start with marriage, because I see marriage. I see your honesty around Charlie and postpartum, and then
Yes.
this narrative now. There's like 3 big beats in this, but if we could start there, how did marriage shift that for you? What did you feel like was a change? Because nobody could tell you how to relate to your husband because it's just you and him.
Yes. When I tell you, I did not know there was a difference between introvert and extrovert until I met Joseph. I didn't know. I
It's
don't
true.
know. Maybe I knew and I just decided that everyone was an extrovert. I'm like, oh, that's crazy that some people in this world are introverts.
You're like, wait, what?
Wait, what? And then I learn through Joseph that my mom is an introvert, that Evelyn is an introvert. So
Yep.
really it's just, and I'm curious to have seen what Christiana would have come to be, more of like
Totally.
ambivert, introvert. But it's really just me and my dad that are the
Yeah.
extroverts in the family. And so when Joseph had to take that moment, I was just flabbergasted. I was like, what do you mean you don't have, all this energy to meet your future
Yep.
family for the very first time? And I think it wasn't only us in the house, it was also we invited other friends. So it was like
It was
maybe
always a plus.
14 people in that like 3-bedroom home.
Yeah.
So I really think that I've heard this before by Pastor Tim Ross. He has said that marriage, it's really just you looking in the mirror and it's
Mhm.
exposing
Yep.
really who you are. So I'm looking at Joseph. I'm seeing how selfish I am.
Mm.
I'm seeing how very narrow-minded I am. I'm seeing how I have control issues.
No,
What?
not at all.
I was appalled the first time he brought that to my attention. He was like, "Have you ever considered?
Might you consider that
Might you
your hair
consider
is
that?"
curly?
Like, what? I was, what do you mean? I don't have control issues. It's just that everything has to be the way that I anticipate
Yeah.
it to be. And whether I communicate that expectation or
Yeah.
not, it has to go that way. So I think it's very exposing. Marriage has been, has been very exposing. But the shift over the last 10 years, I feel like my empathy has
Mm.
grown. I mean, it's an uncomfortable growth, but
Hmm.
it's allowed me to see other people for, people are different and
Yeah.
people need a second and people process information differently. Maybe everything that's on my mind doesn't need to be shared all at once.
Mm.
Maybe there's a filter. Of course, there's a safe space within our relationship, but
Right.
maybe there's even a filter that will protect, you know, how he's going to receive information. Is all of this going to be fruitful in the way that
Right.
I share it or what I share? So, and it's funny because since having kids, I have shifted more towards the introvert aspect
Mm.
much more than I was 10 years ago.
Yeah.
That I am now prioritizing and appreciating my energy where I just can't be out unless I really love someone or
Mm.
it's really a momentous occasion or whatever. If we're going for dinner with some girlfriends, I'm booking like 5:30 p.m. so that I can be
Mhm.
home. I mean, ideally right after the kids go to bed, so I don't have to do bedtime routine, but I could still enjoy my bed. And,
Yeah.
and it's so things are different,
Yes.
and it's very eye-opening.
What's interesting to me is even what you're describing is there's a therapist on our team who says that it's always fascinating to discover that the healthiest couple actually requires you to be more differentiated, to use a therapy word.
Mhm.
Is that it's crazy to think that to create a healthy relationship, it starts with you actually not focusing on the other person, but starting focusing on you.
Yeah.
Pivoting that in, because even as you talk about the control issues, if anybody listening at home has like discipline, consistency, or harmony, those are three themes that are about order and intention, right? Discipline is a hardworking theme that creates systems and orders. And they're like, I just need the system to work. Harmony isn't about necessarily I just being, conceding everything. It's more about efficiency and this deep desire to have things well. And consistency says the system should produce and treat everyone equally, ultimately. But take all of that desire to have order. It doesn't mean you can't handle chaos. I always tell people discipline, it's not they can't handle chaos, it's they can't handle chaos they're told they're not empowered to bring order to.
Yes.
That's the bigger issue. And so going, well, it's just chaotic. You're like, no, 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 no. But take all of that, and then maximizer is one of the most powerful themes in the influencing section of Clifton Strengths. Maximizers want to take good and make it great. They love finding a good deal, but they live in the tension of it never quite feels enough.
Mm.
And like, instead of stepping into that space of going, I will arrive one day, I've had to have maximizers say to me, I'm learning to find acceptance in that this drive is part of me. It's never going away. And it doesn't always have to be answered.
Mm.
Does that resonate with you at all?
I mean, you might as well have just said Serena Tillman and then listed off. It's so uncomfortable to relinquish the perfect.
Mm,
And, you know, good is sometimes good enough.
yep,
Great is sometimes good enough. And it's when I strive for the perfection and on the off chance that I achieve it,
yep,
I am, it really feels like I need it all. I
yep.
need it to be exactly as I imagine it to be. And I want the praise
Yeah.
at the
Yeah.
end.
I
I
don't want to
want the
do it and have the judges
acknowledgement.
miss it. The Olympics are on right now. You're like, wait a minute, the judge missed that? Didn't you see how great that?
Didn't you
I'm like,
see it?
I'm not doing this for myself. I want you guys to see it.
This is for external praise. Don't get it twisted.
Well, I'm like, no, it's not. Yes, it is.
And
Believe me, it's not.
I think that's why some aspects or most
Mhm.
aspects of motherhood are quite challenging,
Yep.
because so much, especially now that I'm home with Andy, my youngest, and the other two are in elementary school. Now that I'm home, I'm teaching Pilates part-time, but I'm home 80% of the time,
Mhm.
managing the home, managing the children's schedules. So much of that is unseen.
Yeah.
I'm not,
Yeah.
telling someone, hey, I'm doing a load of laundry right now. I'm about to go fold it. Hey, I put away the laundry
It didn't just lay there in a pile
the
clean.
same day.
This,
The same day. I've made dinner. I've done it. And there was a season, really in the last like year and a half, I've been intentionally limiting my social media presence.
Mhm.
And as it pertains to documenting every minute of my
Yeah.
life, to say, hey, look what I'm doing, check it out, whatever. And so more of my posts now are either my blog on my website or family. What is the family up to? Or
Yeah.
big accomplishments that I have done, but not necessarily like the day-to-day mundane tasks.
Mhm.
And so that has been definitely a shift of being at home and, you know, the doctor's appointments, the dentist appointments, the haircuts, the everything that is unseen,
Yep.
and being okay without the praise, but knowing that my purpose right now is focused on the kids. They look at me and they might not even know a fraction of what I have done or thought
Yeah.
about as it pertains to their well-being and making sure that their life is in order.
Yeah.
And so it's a
Yeah.
tricky thing to balance, but I mean, I feel like with each being proud of myself
Yeah.
or recognizing that like God sees me, Joseph
Yeah.
sees me, um that is a
The
piece
most
of the growth
measures.
each time.
Because because I think that I had somebody once say to me with maximizing also significance, which I think if I pull back your top 10, I'm pretty sure we'd have it there
Oh,
someplace.
100%. It would
We
be
both
number
say that.
6.
Number 6 is that this really wise person once said to me, they said, I have determined that I want to be significant every day and I'm okay with it. And people are kind of put off by a drive to be significant. And he said, my growth in the last 10 years has been to learn to wake up every day and say, I want to be significant. And what I relinquish, he was talking about to God. He said, what I relinquish to God is letting him define the definition of the word significance.
Oh, that's good.
He's like, I'm not going to relinquish significance. I'm going to relinquish my drive to be the person who defines it.
Mm.
And I was like, that'll teach or preach or whatever you want to say. Like that'll.
Yep.
And do you recognize it? Because as I watch you, that's what I found is that like you've not ceased being you in a decade. I've watched you redefine. And that's what I love about people with discipline and harmony is they go, wait, the system's not working. Instead of me going, I should just give up on wanting systems. They go like, well, okay, well, let's make the system do what it needs to do. This
Mhm.
isn't providing life and health to those around me, but fine. And I think we make it so we make a choice, especially in this whole podcast is about navigating. We act as if every choice is the last choice, especially in big moments. And I'm like, do it for a period of time. My buddy Johan, who I actually recorded a podcast with him this week, and he coached me for years, and we partner up. When you're closing the gap between the vision you have and the reality you're living in, you're making a plan and coaching.
Mhm.
He loves to say this phrase, you got to apply HEAT, which is habits, experiments, attitude, and time. The experiments part of HEAT
Mm.
is like an experiment is a thing you do not to have it work, but to learn something. You try it,
Yep.
and then you try something else. How with such discipline themes, because you even said it, so it's already in there, with like these themes that are so ordered and intentional, how have you found the ability to go, you know what, and if it doesn't work, change it? Did that come natural? Is that coming out like the maximizer pivot? Or did you have to teach yourself to go, listen, I build in moments where I'm like, I give myself permission
Mhm.
to reconfigure this. How have you got there?
Sometimes the voice in my head is too loud. Sometimes
Mhm.
me, Serena, saying, the freak out or the chaos is too loud and I have to look externally. So I've surrounded myself by I would say two intentional friends
Mm.
who call it as it is. I give them the rundown and they're like, have you thought about this? Maybe you should shift this. And it's not always pretty. They're not always agreeing with me. And so I get that same thing with Joseph as well,
Mhm.
where I'll come to the conversation of this is what I'm struggling with. I don't love how this is working. Or maybe I don't even come to him and he just sees the glaze over my eyes. And he's like, are you okay? Do we need to change some things? Like, what's going on? So I think it's surrounding yourself with opinions or advice or wisdom that's going to challenge maybe what your instinct is. You take
Mm.
that into consideration. That's one thing I was talking about with someone this weekend is how when you write in a prompt to ChatGPT or
Yeah.
any other AI tool, it's so funny when it responds initially, I love the way you're thinking, Serena. Or these are great thoughts, Serena. I love this chart. I'm like, thank you so much. I
Sycophants, but
am I am brilliant. I am, really thoughtful in this way. You're right. So maybe I'm not saying I love using AI and
sure.
really thoughtful and,
Mhm.
consolidating my thoughts and all that. But maybe go to someone who is a little bit wiser
Yeah.
or knows you and knows what you're going to want to hear, but will make sure that they steer you in the direction that's not going to just get you going in circles
Mhm.
back to where you are. And also to have the patience to hear you make the same mistakes over and over again, because sometimes we don't learn the very first time.
Yeah.
So for us, learning, that experimenting, we've also experimented a lot with childcare with the
Mhm.
kids. I was working for the first 4 or 5 years of the kids' lives. I've only been home for the last 2 years or so. So it's still very new. But, we had an au pair. We had full-time daycare. We had different kind of nursery school. We had a full-time nanny. Right now we have like a series of babysitters. And so each one of those paths worked
Mhm.
for what it needed
Yeah.
in those seasons. And we got to a point where the best decision for our lifestyle, for our home, for everything to be functioning within the home, within the kids' lives, within our marriage, was for me to step away and to explore working working with the kids at home.
Mhm.
Now, I knew from the beginning that I was not going to be able to full time be
Mhm.
at home with the kids. And so that's when I got into fitness and picked that up part time. I was teaching spin once a week. I am now teaching Lagree, which is a form of Pilates, twice a week. And
Mhm.
it's very like sporadic where I get my, adult conversations
People fix
and
kind of, yeah.
my people fix for, you know, half a few hours a week.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I think you figure out what works for you.
Yeah. What is interesting to me is that even as I start this podcast with the question of name a time where no one else can tell you what to do, I'm kind of always struck by people that learn to develop their own compass do it in a relationship.
Yeah.
That while no one else can tell you what to do, you do need that ping. I think about because I think about standing there with a compass, and it's not like I've ever used one, but you can have one on your phone if you actually take out your iPhone. There's one in there.
Yeah.
Like you don't just go, "Yep, I need to go south because it's cold here," and I point south. You literally you do this, you ping it,
Yeah.
you turn around, and I feel like that's what we do in a relationship. But we're kind of like, "So wait, is this still south?" And they're like, "No, no, 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 that's west." And you're like,
Mm,
having those people in your life that can ping in this time, though, Serena, when people are more thinking about the work you've done with, such with the wives group, even what you talk about as you write and you create and offer up wisdom and words to not only just women but people in your community and friends, that space of relationship.
mhm.
What are if you look at the friends you have now versus friends you had 10 years ago? I have people say to me, "It's so fascinating. The wedding party we pick
I was
a
just
decade
gonna
ago
comment.
till now." Like, how would you
Yeah.
develop healthy relationships, and you've described 2 and your husband, and how do women do that? If you could encourage somebody today to say, "Listen,
Mhm.
I'm a person who has these voices, and we have relationships that's not perfect," what do they need to do to navigate to have these voices even for moments when they can only choose themselves?
Mhm. We're always going to be pulled in so many different directions. Whether you're married or not, whether you're a mother or not, there's always going to be some sort of, your work colleagues or your fitness girls or whatever it might be. There's always going to be different directions. I learned this maybe 3 years ago that all the different zones of relationships, and I can't name them because I don't have them memorized, but essentially the zone 1 friend is like the acquaintance, high level, somebody you're connected with on LinkedIn, but have never really even met in person,
Mhm.
or, social media acquaintance, very high level. You do
Yeah,
not know their middle name. You don't know really much about them.
yeah.
It keeps going zone 2, zone 3. And then that zone 4 is where I would put the 2 friends that I mentioned
Mhm,
and Joseph, where obviously Joseph, but those 2 friends where they know everything.
mhm.
There's never been a time where I'm withholding from them, unless it has to do with like something that's confidential, of course.
Sure.
But, you know, they know my strengths, they know my triggers, they know about my kids, they know, what's appropriate about to know about my marriage. They know, you know, there's so much that we have invested, and not everyone has the privilege or the luxury to access
Mhm.
your zone 4,
Mm.
because the amount of energy and time and effort it takes to let somebody in
Mhm.
as a zone 4, and also to listen and be invested in them so much that you're their zone
Yeah.
4, that is something that you have to be protective of,
Mhm.
because you also don't want to feel like, oh, I have 12 zone 4 people and let me just text all these group chats and let them know. Not everybody is
No.
going to get this intimate aspect of you, but that doesn't mean that you can't have a good number of zone 3 or zone 2.
Yeah. But I think even in that though, forgive me for killing the metaphor, to put people in those zones requires the courage to be vulnerable enough to see if they can handle some of the information, right?
Yeah.
Learn who makes the zone, but you can't go, I'm going to tell nobody anything and then be mad nobody's intimate with me and nobody can
Mhm.
be vulnerable with, or nobody's safe. I can't, man, nobody's in my zone 4. Serena talked about zone 4. Well, no, but you never bothered going, I didn't even step out to meet the zone 2, to make them zone 2. I never told them today's not a good day just to see how they react.
Right.
How, when I think about your journey of like marriage first, so that you like figuring out how to be an healthy individual in a relationship and learning to be a we, and you and Joseph, but then even talking, can we talk about like the postpartum stuff of being able to be courageous about who you can trust with that? Or
Mm.
we talked about like the seasons after having a baby where you're just expectations of it's bliss and it's going to be wonderful. That had to be a vulnerable time where you're going, who can handle this that I'm not
Yeah.
okay at this moment?
Yeah.
So, I mean, not to you go in deep as you want to go,
Oh, yeah.
but that's a real thing for so many women who I feel like years later talk about, yeah, I was isolated and I wish I knew. And so I'm
Mhm.
always about anybody can talk about that. I
Mhm.
think it's important.
I think there's so much, like you said, the bliss and perfection put on the pregnancy. You
Mhm.
have, the belly bump, and you have, 22 weeks and, all these things. And then you lead up to what they call the fourth trimester. So you have your first, second, and third
Yeah,
trimester while you're pregnant. The
incubated.
fourth trimester is the postpartum.
Mm.
And for me, I feel like I felt the heaviest postpartum, I was going to say with all of them actually, but especially with Grayson. Grayson, my son, was born September 2020.
Mm.
So we found out we were pregnant just before shutdown for the pandemic.
Yeah.
And we bought a one-way flight and we
I
moved to
remember
California.
I remember the night it was literally New York was going shelter in place and you're like, we're on a plane. I was like, oh
We're
my
on a plane.
gosh,
We're gone. Joseph had connections at the World Health Organization that told us, this is
this is
not a
gonna shut
joke.
down. Yeah.
You got to go. And I was like, okay, I'm going to pack for like 2 weeks. I don't think it's going to be that long. It's really not that serious. That's fine. And Joseph was like, okay, I really think that you should pack more than that, but let's go. And so not only am I, that pregnancy was very difficult because I had to change my doctor, change my birth plan and the hospital. And then I'm giving birth in a place that's not my home. What is the level of comfort for breastfeeding when my dad's walking the hallway and I'm just, okay, let me
Right.
just cover up. And, he was,
Mhm.
obviously respectful and would like
Sure.
give me space and all that. But it felt like a punishment where I had to take Grayson, go into the room, close the door to get ultimate privacy to feed him. And I'm like, I feel like I am being punished for what I'm doing. And so that was one of the shifts of, you know, that another conversation I had with Joseph where he was like, what change do we need to make? Because you are not well. There
Mm.
was this glaze over my eyes. My patience was not existent. Charlie was, she was only 16, 17 months. She's much
Yeah.
like they're very close in age. So I didn't have capacity to care for my other child. And so that was one of the first decisions of like, I cannot breastfeed anymore. I cannot do this. We need to switch to formula. We need to. And Joseph was like, okay. And I don't know. Again, it's like the right and the wrong that I had in my mind of there's a right way to do it, a wrong way to do it. And I was expecting the reaction to be, what are you talking about? I want, breast is best. That's like one of the sayings. Breast is best.
Yeah.
And so I didn't know what I expected the reaction to be, but the understanding of we're making the shift as soon as possible and just being isolated and not being able to go to the library for story time or, you're really only walking around your block and then you're going right back in the house. And then, when we moved back to the East Coast a few months later, it was winter time and, the snow is there for another 3 months and you can't go outside. And so it was just very dark and very, I just felt like I didn't have anybody who understood. And I really think that I started when Grayson was born, there was a group of 4 women that I texted, just letting them know Grayson's here, and really kept in touch with those. That was like my zone 3, 4 girls at the time. Over the years, some have transitioned to different zones, and there are 2 of them that I spoke about already. Now, fast forward to my next postpartum with Andy 4 years later. Andy was preemie. She was born 6 weeks early. She was in NICU for 2 weeks, and she was born at 3 pounds. And mind you, Evelyn is pregnant with Gia at the same time. And we have 8 weeks apart between our due dates. Wow. And it was perfect because Mommy and Boppy, my mom and dad, were going to go at the time. Evelyn and her family were living in Italy. They were going to go help Evelyn with the transition to 3 kids, be with the family for 6 to 8 weeks. Perfect timing to come right back. What could go wrong?
What could go wrong? And your mom would have planned it perfect because she too has discipline. I've seen her profile.
Oh, I believe that. I absolutely believe that. We are very alike. And the day that they were flying out, this is maybe a week before Evelyn's due date. The day they're flying out to Italy was the day I found out from the doctor that Andy's not growing properly. We're likely going to have to induce, get her out. She's going to have to finish growing in NICU. And that was the day they're boarding
plane.
The plane. They are gone. Yeah. They're like, sorry, we're already in the air. And in that moment, I really freaked out. I really am like, how am I going to do this? Because in my mind, I was going to have round the clock support from my family, and power to those who have the capacity to do it without support. But I urge you, if you have either the budget, the family member, the relationships to help you, I feel like the United States is the only place that says the mom needs to figure it out on her own, do it all herself. There's no power in the village. There's no power. You go anywhere else and it's a communal effort.
Yes.
And so in that moment, I truly gathered my village. When I tell you, I can show you the Excel sheet. I was like, okay, this neighbor is going to take the kids to school. This neighbor is taking them home. This other neighbor is going to take them to jiu-jitsu and to swim. And this person's going to help with meal prepping. Yeah. And this, I had every aspect layered out so that it was out of my brain. It was on a document.
Literally
an Excel sheet. So that the moment that Andy comes, I know that home is taken care of.
How do you find the courage to ask for that help? Because there's so many, in that moment, there's so many women that I think, be like, yes, Serena, I love that. I would love to have that. But on one level, I go, that's cultivated before the moment.
Yeah.
But 2, has it become just natural that you ask for help? Do you feel like it's always
Oh,
been there? Like, how
no.
how do you go, "I'm gonna ask the neighbor, listen, just so you know, and if they say no, they say no, I'll make a new plan." Where is the courage to invite in the community come from, Serena?
Two things. You have to do it scared. You just have my heart rate, my pits, I'm sweating, my palms are sweating. You have to just do it. You have to sometimes just do it scared, because in that moment, you don't really have another choice. My parents are in Italy and we were not going to get, a full-time care. That was just
You're
not
gonna
something
randomly
that,
hire somebody to come and run our lives on no notice and yeah.
no. Joseph thankfully has he has insurance, postpartum insurance, where we were able to get,
Hmm.
occasional nighttime help, which is game changer.
Mhm.
And probably would have been sufficient if I didn't have two other kids, but somebody has to help with the other kids.
Yeah.
And I also didn't know what type of birth I was going to have. And I ended up having a C-section, which is a whole other,
You have a whole different recovery. It's
whole
a whole
different
different experience,
recovery
right?
that I didn't even know about until they said, we need to get this baby out. And so, one, do it scared. And two, you go based on the relationships and the interactions that you have had in the past. Even if it's a year prior, a month prior, what are those conversations that people have shown and proven to you that they're reliable? Or
Hmm.
they have said, anytime you need anything, you just let me know. Have they said that? And then their track record is like, maybe I'm not going to let them know. Or they have shown themselves to be consistent and they've shown themselves to show up either
Mhm.
for you or for other people in your community
Mhm.
that have proven to say, I know if I call on this person,
Yeah.
she's coming over. She's
Yeah.
going to help me. And I don't think that it's someone that it's not one way. It's also who have I invested in that I would hope
Yeah.
that is going to be able to give back to my family. And I think you also have to be mindful of your ask, because if I'm asking somebody who also has 3 young kids, who has a full-time job, maybe her intention is to
Yeah.
help, but she just doesn't have the capacity.
Right.
Or maybe I just need, hey, I know you're a mom at my kid's school and they get out at the same time. Can you just bring them home?
Yeah.
They get out at the exact same time. I will leave the car seat on my porch. Can you just pick up the car seat, get my kids from school? Something on
Mhm.
Tuesday. You know, I'm not telling you Monday through Friday, can you watch my kids from
Yeah.
3 to 8 p.m., put them to put them to bed, feed them dinner, do all these things, because then that's not
Yeah, it's a little
realistic.
much. But what you're
Gauge the
saying is
capacity.
but what you're saying is so true, though. About one of my favorite sayings is healthy people ask for what they want. I heard a therapist say that years ago. Healthy people ask. One, it's a sign of being healthy. So the more am I being healthy and asking, or am I just waiting? And I hear that in this. They're like, oh, one of the keys is the healthy people ask for what they want. The other component is that just because you ask doesn't mean you get it. And so
Yeah.
people will ask only if they sure, but like ask. And if they say no, you say, great, but I asked. It's like
Mm-hmm.
if I come to you and I'm like, Serena, I'm dying of thirst in the desert. I need a gallon of water or I will die. And you're like, I have 2 spare cups. I'm like, but I want more. I don't get mad at you
Yeah.
for not being able to give me a gallon. You're like, I'll give you whatever I got. I'm like, it's only 2, but I have to learn that I have to get that need met in multiple places.
Yes.
I've got to, but it starts with, as I'm listening here, because I mean, as we kind of pull this in, I don't want to take your entire morning, but this idea of one, it's interesting that when it comes to moments you have to navigate on your own, it requires community
Yes.
and you have to build that community. 2, it requires vulnerability, but the only way to create vulnerability is, I think the headline for me in this podcast is do it scared, but specifically do it scared in creating a relationship.
Yeah.
That's going to help you navigate that life so that in the end, you can ask for what you need.
Yes. And on that list, maybe 11, 12 people, all
Max.
plugged in. I
Yeah.
mean, it was a huge list of people. I needed every, I needed full coverage. And then I have it all planned out. We're ready to go. We have a date for when Andy's coming out.
Mm-hmm.
And then I get a call from my dad saying he's coming home. And when
Hmm.
I tell you I'm driving on the freeway and I'm like, my mom's also on the phone. She was like, "Are you crying? Are you driving? You need to pull over." And
Your mom. That is
I'm
Maria.
sobbing.
Yeah.
Love Maria. I'm sobbing because it is like the biggest sigh of relief. I have this plan in place.
Yeah.
I have this plan B. We would have been all right. And my dad was able to come the day after, or maybe it was the morning of, that Andy was born.
Yep.
So we ended up using maybe 3 people to get the kids to school that day. And then once Boppy landed, he was all 11 of those people.
Mhm.
And a few weeks later, my mom ended up coming back and they stayed with us for 4 to 6 weeks, really helping me
Mhm.
literally get my feet under me again, because I couldn't walk for a bit for the
Mhm.
C-section recovery, but to really get my flow and my rhythm. And now, we're almost a year and a
Yeah.
half past
Yeah.
that. And we're like, we've got a good rhythm and this is working well for us. And it's already looks very different than what it did
Yeah.
just a few months ago. And so it all came together with our plan A,
Sure.
but the creation of plan B
Yeah.
was scary, but we made it happen.
The secret sauce in your strengths profile isn't just the order and discipline. It is the deep desire with empathy in your top 5. It's the
Mm.
ability to go, my formula does not work if they're not human beings in my formula.
Yeah.
Like the keeping of the people in the world and the process, the building. And I think that's the thing, is that when we treat people like I think there's an organization that says obstacles, vehicles, or irrelevancies instead of people, the system no longer works. And I think that's part of your magic, Serena, and even part of maybe even the social work thing that interests you, and the idea of helping change systems that change people, is this keeping people in the solution, for lack of a better
Mm-hmm.
word.
Mm-hmm.
One last question is, I kind of pull this together because I think you're navigating so much, and you're early in your story. You have 3 young children. Like, I mean, you have decades and decades of life and influence. You're living in a tension of not where you were and not where you're going yet.
Mm-hmm.
But if you could say to somebody like right now, your sweet cousin Mariah is babysitting as we speak on this call, which is why
Yes,
when you get back to her,
downstairs.
she's downstairs going, "Okay, you're 10 minutes over."
I told her 11:15. So
Well,
I'm like, I have
wait,
6 minutes.
if you told her though, it's like she's freshly married last past summer,
Yeah.
in love. If you're out there and you're going, and she has a degree, she did a lot of work. She, teacher, right? I mean, education,
Mm-hmm.
she works in education, love, marriage. And you're like, if I could sit and say, here I am,
Mm-hmm.
10 years past marriage, navigating what it means to be a woman, a mother, faith's really important to you guys.
Mm-hmm.
For her, what would you say is, I would keep this in front of you? You
Mm-hmm.
can go all kinds of places, but this is something I would encourage you to remember, to
Mm-hmm.
keep yourself on track when no one else can tell you what to do.
The biggest thing I'll say is that it is not one size fits all.
Hmm.
You can do as much as you can to follow the trajectory of a mentor, of somebody who inspires you. You went to the same school, you got the same major, you got you got married, you did this, whatever that path is,
Yeah.
whether you're following somebody or you're doing what you think is right. At the end of the day, it's not one size fits all. There will be deviations in your path. There will be shifts, and you need to be open to those shifts. However uncomfortable they will be open to those shifts, and then you keep community close. Doesn't have to be 5, 10, 15. I have 2 people.
Two.
2
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
And that is plenty, because you also want to invest in them as they invest in you. And so being very mindful, very intentional about who you keep close. And then ultimately you make those decisions one step at a time, just
Yeah.
one foot in front of the other. Don't feel like you need to have the end and goal, the finish line or whatever. You know exactly what's going to happen in 10 years, because if you
Yeah.
had asked me 10 years ago, if I would have been here, I thought I was going to be living back in California. I didn't know
Mm.
any of this was going to be as
Yeah.
it was. Didn't think I'd be in fitness and maybe a mom of 3. Who knows? Like, there's so much along the journey leading a nonprofit. Never would have thought that. Like, things like that. So it's not one size fits all.
Yeah.
And you need to be okay with the size that fits you,
Mhm.
everything that fits you, the path that you're taking is just right.
Yeah. Do it scared and follow that path that is yours. I mean, it's really, I'm excited to see where this goes for you because I feel like it really is early days and early stages, and it's gonna be fun to
Yeah.
see what else you discover um, as these moments. Thank you so much for taking the time to do this. It's just
Yeah.
amazing. It's been
This was
terrific.
fun.
I really feel like this isn't the last conversation we should have. We should talk about more stuff. There's
No.
so much stuff in there.
Yeah.
If you're following along at home and you're watching this, I hope this has been encouraging. Like Serena says, do it scared. Community is going to be key. Build it soon and build it early and, build it well. If you've enjoyed this, please, all the things we need you to do to help keep sharing with other people, like, share, post, follow, comment. Just so you know, Serena has a great blog with some great pieces. We're going to put the links to that here. We'd love for you to go out there, dive into some of the stuff she's writing about. It's this truly uncomfortable honesty and truth about what it means to be a woman and a mother navigating this world of purpose and calling and not doing it anybody else's way. So please follow, like, share, all those things, but check out Serena's blog. And I love it. Serena, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks, Uncle Mike.
See you guys, everybody. See you next time.